In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this stylish under bust ruched shoulder gathered dress. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. Now to start, here is my pattern paper and we're going to draft the upper part of this dress first. Now you need to get the full length of your dress and minus from your shoulder to waistline for the dress. Now for the upper part, I have my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust for this pattern, and then my shoulder to waistline. So after I'm done marking this, I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2 and I'll add half because this dress has a sleeve, and I'll come down by 1 inch. I'll mark a basic neckline of 3 inches here. Now I'll go ahead to connect from the shoulder all the way to the neckline of this dress. So after I'm done connecting that, I'll find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I have 7 inches, which I marked a straight line on that 7 inches point. I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2, and after marking that, I'll place my ruler and I'll draw a straight line connecting. So after connecting, I'm going to go ahead to divide what I have there into 2 by placing my tape, and I'll mark the midpoint, come in by ½ inch. Here I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now after I'm done marking, I'll connect from here to the upper part and then connect from the midpoint of my armhole all the way to the chest line of this pattern. Now after I'm done marking this, the next step I'll take is to mark my basic neckline. This will serve as a guideline for my pattern. So after I'm done marking that, I'll place my curved drew and connect to the under bust. Now the next step is to go ahead to mark my dart. I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I'm going to mark this all the way to the bust, under bust and waist, and I will draw out a straight line. I'll mark ½ inch on both sides of my pattern for my dart. Now come down by 1 inch from the bust and I'll place, and I will connect at the other side and also connect all the way to the waistline of my pattern and also connect to the under bust. So after I'm done connecting, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Here I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, and I will go ahead to measure the dart intake I have here, replace and add my sewing allowance. Here I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. Now after I'm done marking this, I'm going to go ahead to mark from the under bust to the bust area, and I will extend this all the way to the waistline. So the next step I'm going to take right now is to go ahead to outline my pattern. After that, what I'm going to do is to come up by 2 inches from my under bust, go in by ½ inch, and I'll place my curved drew, connect this all the way to the under bust. After connecting at this point, the under bust, I'll go up by 1 inch or half. Then you go ahead to connect and also outline this part. So we are almost done with the front part. So now I'm going to add a little basque of 1 inch and connect this all the way down and take this to the waistline because we have a slight basque. Now I'll measure about 1.5 inches, or you can use 1 inch from the neckline. That is where the color of my dress will start, and then I'll connect this back to the under bust. Now if you notice on this dress, there's a ruche at the shoulder and there's also a gathers at the under bust area. Now you want to go ahead and use a slash and spread method for this. Now I'm going to slash my pattern and I'm going to cut it out, place it on a fresh pattern paper, and I will cut out. Now I'll also go ahead to label this. So there's no particular measurement on how to slash this part. You can go ahead to do it in a way that it suits you, right? And note, whatever we have there on the slash and spread is not too much, so you should also consider that. So I'll go ahead and I will cut out this part of my pattern. So also cut out this, and I'll go ahead to notch that point where I have that 1.5 inches at or 1 inch at the neck area of my dress, then I'll start going ahead to slash. So for the dart of this dress, you can decide to blend it out or also cut it and join. Now go ahead to measure your actual shoulder, because whatever you have, you're going to ruche it back to this actual shoulder remaining. Now I'll place this and I'm going to trace out another pattern that we'll be using to replace the part that we cut out. So now I'm going to start placing my pattern accordingly. So you can go ahead to use 2 inches or 3 inches depending on what you want, but whatever that was used on this pattern is not much, so the upper part should not be that big. So I'm just using 2 inches, and if I mark that 2 inches, I'll place the next pattern. You can pin it or go ahead to use your tape to hold it down. So I'm just going to mark this till I get to the last pattern. So while merging the last pattern, I noticed it connected to the armhole of this dress, so I didn't want to be confused on that part. So what I did was to merge my last pattern together right towards this armhole area. I didn't want to be confused about the side. I just had to merge it together. So after I'm done merging it, I'll just go ahead to trace out what I have. Now when you're transferring this to your own actual pattern, you'll be adding 1/2 inch all the way around. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please kindly hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up and leave your comment at the comment section. Also, while cutting this out, when you get to your neckline, that is where the collar will start, go ahead to notch it. Now you can use 1 inch or within 1 inch to 2 inches to start attaching your collar from the neckline at the front. Now what you have to do is just to gather this back to the under bust and then ruche the shoulder to the original shoulder that you had earlier, right? So now we are done with this part. Now for the back pattern, I've gone ahead to cut this out, which is my shoulder to bust and waistline. So I also added a zipper at the back. Now this back I'm using is different from the one on this dress, so the requested video is on how to make use of a zipper for this dress. The actual back of this dress is a cow neck, but for me I'm using a zipper and a basic neckline of 3 by 1 inch for the back. Now I'll start by marking my darts. I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, take this all the way to the blouse length and place my ruler to connect. Now I'm going to mark 1 inch from the bust and then mark 1/2 inch on both sides. Now I'll go ahead to connect this all the way up and also connect on the other side. So after I'm done doing this, I'll insert my bust circumference divided by 4. So after marking that, I'll add my sewing allowance. Use any sewing allowance of your choice. Mark your under bust circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake and replace. Go ahead to add your sewing allowance. So now I'll go ahead to place my ruler and I'll draw out a straight line at this point. Now after I'm done marking, the next step I'll take is to go ahead to cut this out. Now after I'm done cutting this out, we are now going to go ahead to alter the rest of this pattern to draft it into a ruched shoulder also for the back. Now you have to go ahead to also measure the neckline of this back pattern, right? Because you're going to attach a collar to it. Now this collar you attach will be separate because you're having like a zipper at this point. Just like I said, this is not the original pattern for the back. I'm just using this because the tutorial is on how to make the back a basic back pattern. So measure from your shoulder to under bust, then you go ahead to connect. So remember, at the side of the pattern we went up by 1/2 inch at the front pattern. If you don't want to do that, you can just cut out your under bust this way. So now what I'll do is the part going towards the shoulder area, I'm going to slash and spread this part of the dress to give it a ruche at the shoulder, just like we did for the front. And also remember, like I said, this is not the original pattern for the back. So the back, we're just doing it in form of a basic back pattern because it's a requested tutorial. So if you're going with what we have at the back, is actually a cow neck that is at the back. So I'll just go ahead to cut this open this way. You can now go ahead to place it and slash it, and then transfer it on a new pattern paper just like we did for the back. Just know that when you're attaching this back to this under bust area, you're going to gather it to fit the under bust, and then at the upper part, when you join your shoulder to the front shoulder, you're going to add an elastic to give it that you have on the shoulder of the dress. Now let's go ahead to cut out the collar. So I'll mark a space in front before cutting out. So what you need is that measurement you have at the front, which is that 1.5 inches plus your back neckline. So the back neckline I measured 3.5, while the front neckline I measured 1.5. 1.5 plus 3.5 will give you 6 inches. So I marked out 6 inches. Now what I'll do is I'll divide these 6 inches into 2 equal parts and mark. Now I don't want my collar to just be straight. I want it to be slanted a bit so that it will relax at the back. Now I'll come up by ½ inch. Now after this, I'll connect it down to this point, that the midpoint. From that ½ inch I went up at the end. Now from this part, so from here I'm going to mark 1 inch for my collar stand. So you can use 1.5 if you feel 1 inch is small. Now I'll mark this all the way up, and after marking I'll place my ruler and I'm going to go ahead to connect. Now after I'm done connecting, this is what I have. Now the next step I'll take is to mark the collar itself. I'll mark 2 inches here and 2.5 or 3 inches here. Anyone that is okay for you, then go ahead to connect this all the way up. After I'm done connecting this, I'll just mark an extension to give it that pointy effect. So I added 1 inch, but after cutting I felt it was too pointy. I went ahead to reduce it. Now what I will do is to go ahead to cut this out. Here is the collar stand and here is the collar. So I'll go ahead to cut this out. And after cutting out, you go ahead to attach this from the notched part in front of your dress. Then go ahead to attach it to the back where you have the zipper of the dress. So just like I said, I wasn't okay with the pointy effect I had at the collar, so I just reduced it a bit. So here's the collar stand and the collar itself. So for the lower part of this dress, just like I said, you have to get the full length of your dress. Then measure your shoulder to waistline. So let's say the full length of this dress is 35 and your shoulder to waistline is 20 inches. Now if you take out that 20 inches from the 35 inches, you have 15 inches left. Now you cut about 3 yards of fabric for that part of your dress and gather it round the waistline of your dress.